Welcome everybody to this session on green hydrogen, challenges, opportunities, issues. Looking forward to this session. Also very glad to see so many people here. So my name is Tore Gulbrandsen. I'm coming from Rystad Energy. It's a data analysis consulting house working across the entire energy space. So I will do an introduction. And then we will have questions from the panel. And also you, of course, are free to send us questions. We'll either do them on the way or we do it through the end. Yes, okay. Oops. Yeah. Thank you. So just quickly on how we see the hydrogen space. These are all the assets we see in terms of the different hydrogen colors. And you can see all the projects and you can see the sizes of them. A few observations. It is, of course, that there are a lot of blue hydrogen projects. We're not going to talk about that today. It's mainly on the green one. And some observation, of course, is that, yeah, this is actually, there are activities globally, but there's also a lot of activity in Europe and a lot of circles. So a lot of things happening in this space. Also, if we add up the profiles of all these projects, and here it is shown in terms of million tons towards 2040, based on asset by asset build-up. You can see the blue part, but also there's a lot of green hydrogen coming. And to the right-hand side here, you can also see, just briefly at the bottom, it's the North America, which is the biggest part. And actually, Europe is coming in as number two. However, and this is, of course, no big surprise, the key challenge, of course, is that there is just a small portion of these, all these projects and planned projects that have been sanctioned or FID'd. And it also means, of course, that they don't have an offtake agreement. So the key thing for going forward, of course, will be to get more more of these projects sanctioned. And if we then focus in on Europe or EU actually, and green hydrogen, you have the ambition of 10 million tons by 2030. And we can actually see that we are short of that. Based on the current project, it's not enough. But it's not looking too bad if you look on the number of projects and things going on. But again, however, if you look on the bottom piece here, you can see it's the sanctioned projects. That's less than 5% that are actually sanctioned. So really the key challenge now going forward is to do everything across the whole value chain, across all the players, of course, to get things moving forward and get these field sanctioned if you want really to meet the ambitions set out by EU. And just a last slide here. This is just showing one example. This is the average cost using PEM electrolyzer in Germany, using wind power as an energy source. And you can see the cost development from 2020 up to now. It's been quite disappointing compared to the expectation earlier. But we can come back and maybe put some light on why this is. And there's, of course, quite a lot of different reasons for this. But of course, this cost, of course, also has to come down significantly into the future to make this a sustainable, competitive business. Yes, so I think by that I will stop and welcome the panel to the stage. Okay, so very glad that we have such a very good panel here. We got representatives from EPCs, We also have a representative from a new started kind of energy company / EPC company. And we also have one representative from the electrolyzer and the metals, and a specialist on the metal supplier side for PEMs and electrolyzers, amongst many other things. I'll come back to the names of each of you as we go through. So we're going to touch upon quite a lot of different issues. And again, feel free to propose questions. But the first question is going to go to Licia. And Licia is working for Linde, which of course is a big EPC company covering the entire value chain. And of course, one of the key things that has been discussed and challenged in the industry has been the delegated act and the issue of this temporary correlation, which means that you, after 2030, on an hourly basis, need to prove that you are using renewable energy to produce your green energy, and not kind of using or stealing from the network and increasing the fossil fuel to feed into your production of green energy. But however, until 2030, you can do this on a monthly basis. So maybe can you, Licia, share some perspectives and maybe challenges or solutions to this issue?
Super. Thank you very much. First of all, nice to be here and see so many faces, so many people interested by this important for Europe theme. Green hydrogen, it is something I'm passionate about, and as I said, I'm glad to be surrounded of, I hope, similar passionate people as well. So Linde is not only EPC contractor, we're also a gas company. Linde also owns and operates electrolyzer, just to add to my introduction. And then going to the question itself. For me, green hydrogen projects development is my daily job. And then working in a direct relationship with the customers, with a small, big demand of supply. Of course, for us, it's very much important to give the security of supply for the customer. So our stable supply, if them stable, work on them assets. Yeah. Saying this, in my opinion, today, as we are in end of 23, this temporal correlation is close to impossible, if I may say so. Simple reason for this. First, we don't have enough of green power. It's very much fluctuated, low availability is first. And of course, the on-site storage of hydrogen, it is relatively small. So then we talk about big customers, we cannot allow such important supply from the tank itself. Yeah. But this temporal correlation, we have some time to reach it. Yeah. So we have European Commission allows us this. We have this magic 2030, I will call it. We can do it. I believe in this. For this simple way is, of course, expand the power production, invest in new capacity, which will give the more full load hours for electrolyzer. First, and another thing which we see happening already in Europe is the green hydrogen or hydrogen pipeline, the distribution network all over across Europe. We see already the national TCOs from Netherlands, Germany, Belgium, announcing FIDs. We see the start of construction, which is beauty. Yeah? So end of day, I think to reach this correlation, this would be a combination, optimization, if I may say so, yeah. Combination of the supply, the transport pipelines, the beginning can be also a buffer, storage for at the beginning of this industry. Yeah, to be positive and saying it is optimization between production and storage, of course, with small on-site solution, yeah. I think with time we can reach it. Yeah.
All right, okay, very good, thank you. Okay, let's then move on a little bit and talk maybe about some of the key challenges, which is, of course is related to cost and cost development. And then, of course, we would like to hear from all of you commenting on this. You know, we hear all and we see and observe different numbers when it comes to the cost of developing the different project for green hydrogen. Of course, it depends on location. Of course, it depends on size, etc. But it would be good to hear a little bit about, you know, what are the key cost drivers, some of the challenges you all see, and also where you see are the biggest potential to reduce the cost going forward. So maybe here we can start with you, Wouter. And Wouter, Wouter is working for Technip, and is also a company, he can probably say a few words, but of course also EPC company covering the entire value chain. So Wouter, please shed some light on this issue.
Yeah, thank you, Tore. And actually, this is a question we get every day as engineering contractors. But first of all, also for me, really happy to be here in Brussels, which, by the way, will be the home of our new company, Rely. It will be a company dedicated to our green hydrogen and power-to-X activities. So we're very excited to launch that actually in the coming weeks. It's been announced and it will be operational very soon. Having said that, actually the answer to your question is part of the reason for creating that company. The idea is not to have costs as the key focus, because ultimately what we need right now, more than anything, is an operational plant that is safe. We need to make sure that safety is paramount. We need to make sure that what we all do creates a positive impetus to the industry, because we cannot afford an incident. That's why, yes, the usual aspects like CapEx and OpEx are going to be critical, but first and foremost, we need to have a safe plant. When you look at the benchmarks, the numbers that are floating around in literature, that are prevalent all over the internet, and the ever-decreasing cost, the promise of ever-decreasing cost of electrolyzers, I think we have a lot to achieve still. What I sense today in the projects that we are following is that there has been a sort of a reset in the market, where we kind of understand now, okay, the actual costs, without going into the numbers, but the actual costs of these facilities is not negligible. It is something that needs hard work, that needs engineering, that needs all parties to come together. And that's also the reason why we said, okay, for large industrial scale projects, so let's say 100 megawatt plus, we need to have, as an integrator, we need to have a much closer proximity to the OEM, in particular the electrolyzers. We cannot just, like a Lego block approach, keep multiplying the various pieces of equipment. Ultimately, and we know it from our background as an engineering company, ultimately that results in inefficiencies, and inefficiencies that you will see both in your CapEx as well as in your OpEx. So the aim will be in the short term that we come up with a sustainable, safe, but very much replicable approach to enable those costs to come down, and that will be reflected as well in the first and foremost in the design, but secondly also in our collaborations across the supply chain.
So maybe I can ask you, I've got quite a long background also from the oil and gas industry, and in that industry it's a lot about early planning, you know, doing the things right early, otherwise it will have consequences later. Can you comment on how is that relevant, or how relevant is that on the electrolyzer side?
I would say, you know, more than ever. Right now we are in a nascent market. Everybody is very aware of the technology risk that's still part of our project developments. The developers are aware of it, the lenders are aware of it, everybody is looking at the magic bullet. Front-end engineering, early planning, of course collaborating with the owners as they put in place their permitting schemes. it's going to be critical, because otherwise you get into an endless loop of redefinition of the project, and that's not sustainable.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's then hear from Dimitris Triantafyllopoulos. It's easy name. It's more difficult than mine. Maybe, yeah, you are also, maybe you can say a few words about your new company and also some comments on the cost, the CapEx issue, and where you see maybe the challenges and yeah, how this can be done in a smart way.
Yeah, thanks, Thor, and very happy to be here in this event. Huge opportunity to discuss, the issues and the opportunities of the market. I represent Hellenic Hydrogen, which is a newly established joint venture located in Greece. It's a joint venture between two large energy organizations, Motor Oil Hellas and Public Power Corporation, both Greek companies. In the order of magnitude, I have to say that these two companies last year did 22 billion of revenues. So these are large organizations, and the fact that they came together and started this journey in Greece for producing green hydrogen says a lot about their ambitions in this market. So I'm coming from both the development side and also partly from the EPC side. So unfortunately, for the time being, I face only problems. Coming back to the cost, I have not a different approach, but some kind of more disruptive approach. I don't think that CapEx is the issue for our projects. I really think that if you find a project that has cheap green electricity and a long-term off-take agreement, you will find a way to do it with the numbers that you have now on the CapEx side. Okay? I'm not saying it's negligible. I'm saying that OpEx, it is something that we should be working on. Of course, the electrolyzers business, is a business. It's a very difficult business to deal with for the time being, because you see a lot of plants, a lot of gigafactories coming up, but when you actually see the reality, you see very few projects, and this kickbacks to the availability, to the costs and everything. So we all need to solve this problem as well. We also see a very big range when we ask for prices in this business, and this is very, very bad for investment decisions. So one is the prices, and the other one is that almost every company offers a different scope. So we spend a lot of time trying to compare apples with apples, So these are the main things that we are focusing now on the cost aspect, but honestly speaking, I'm very worried about, the location of the project. This is location, as someone said some years ago, and then the OpEx side.
So just to follow up on that, so how do you, what's the kind of best alternative you're working on the power side, and to get decent prices on your power? Do you take care of it yourself, or?
Well, that's one of the toughest exercises we are facing now, because you have to find available electricity, and it has to be cheap, and it has to be green, and you have to, after 2030, you have to prove every hour that it's green. This creates a cocktail of difficulties that results in very big pricing when you come to a PPA discussion. On the other hand, you can have a direct line, and you can take advantage of an asset that is near the electrolyzer, but then you have constraints on the utilization factor of your factory, which is another issue. To tell you the truth, I would say that the PPA at the time being is something that we are looking at intensively, because it creates some room for us to also play, if I might say, with the energy that is not used in our power plant during the time of the PPA. So there is some unused power, and then you can also benefit from this in the wholesale market. This kind of exercises are at the forefront of our activities now, and hopefully we will get somewhere that we can build our first project in Greece.
Which is governed this optimization, what I mentioned, that you're looking to cover the gaps coming from here, from there, or by additional power production, what is your case, Demetrius, on site, yeah, I guess. And then you can also add the storage of hydrogen. It's a perfect example here.
Very good, very good. Okay, so let's then hear from Christian Gebauer. He's head of innovation hydrogen system at Heraeus. So yeah, maybe you are more concerned about the capex or smart solutions there, but yeah, let's hear some key issues what you are dealing with.
I think we have even a level on the OPEX. Maybe I can show you this. Thanks a lot. Also not being an EPC, but showing our point of view on this topic, because I think, and that's one main thing we learned the hard way, we cannot only look at our application, our component, we have to see the whole interplay. And here we see, you mentioned CapEx, that's something where we have the biggest lever on it. We have supplying catalysts, precious metal catalysts, and there we have two aspects. One, of course, costs. We can go down with development of those components in interplay with other components. And the second thing, we are precious metals, maybe you know, they are mainly used in PEM electrolyzers. And here iridium is one of the materials which is very scarce. So you have to also avoid a limitation in capacity build-up, which is very important, also for CapEx and afterwards. Second thing, and that's something we are not only going in the direction to lower the CapEx, also make the materials more efficient. Having less power density I have to use to get into operation. For example, most recently we introduced a ruthenium-based material. Ruthenium is a material which is more active. You need less energy input. But unfortunately, it was always too unstable, not usable in our operation. Now we introduce a material where you can save iridium costs, you can be more active, you save costs in OPEX. In the end, and that's what I said, we cannot stand alone if we do something like this. So we need to talk to the next component suppliers, we have to talk to the stack manufacturers, even those who are operating everything, because operation conditions are defining what you have to put in. And that's the feedback that the iteration we are doing. And last but not least, and that's maybe also an important thing people often forgetting if we talk about these precious and very, very high cost materials, in the end such precious metals can be brought back into the loop. So a circularity where you get back the material end of life during production, you can bring back and make a new catalyst out of it. I don't want to say that's an equation where zero comes out in the end for the precious metals, but anyway, you get it back, you can save money, and you said it, and it was a perfect example as well, even planning how to deal with components, with even a catalyst from the beginning on. And I'm honest, we missed the beginning on, we are already in the ramp-up phase, so it's something where we have to react very, very fast to implement those new materials in combination with what we know from the operation to get the best out of it, CapEx and OpEx wise.
Just a question on the metals and the raw materials you are sourcing. Most of that is being imported, or we are dependent on, Europe is dependent on import, or are there some secret mines around in Europe?
I'm not quite sure if I can say it loud here, since of course the CRMA was also something where we had some struggles. You know, most probably in this Critical Raw Material Act there was one thing, we want to diversify the sources. That's a pity with precious metals. Taking iridium again, 80% of iridium is coming from South Africa. So there is not a multiple source option. And one other option is at this moment Russia, which is no option for sure. Therefore, and that's what I said, it's very important to get down in loading, but on the second point, what I already said, to generate an internal market by circularity, by getting the materials back and refine it in Europe, use it in Europe. And I can tell you we have at this moment from these roughly 10 tons available per year of iridium, 2 tons in our refining process every year. You see, we can manage to have not an independency, but we can avoid a full dependency.
Right. Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, let's then change a little bit, and of course some of the key things being discussed at the conference here is of course the different kind of funding instruments. I mean, you have the European Hydrogen Bank, there are other funding mechanisms for research and development, and of course the big thing that's been around, of course, is the Inflation Reduction Act in the US, which someone thinks is much better than the EU Hydrogen Bank. I'm not sure in terms of size, yes, but not necessarily in terms of the ways it's done. But it would be good to hear some comments on, is there any good around this, or are there things you are lacking? So I don't know who wants to, Dimitri, maybe you want to comment on that.
Yeah, sure. I will talk about Europe, okay? And of course, we heard yesterday the news about the second round of the Hydrogen Bank, which was very, very good news, and we look forward to this instrument. But the way we see it is that you have to streamline the EU tools with the national tools. You know, this is a very important process that the member states have to go through. Otherwise, there are pitfalls, there are gaps, and you know, we will not increase this 4% percentage that you showed earlier about the projects that are reaching FID without this streamlining of funding. And, you know, in the Hydrogen Bank tool, I don't know if all of us know it, there is this streamlining opportunity. There is this auction as a service tool that allows member states, you know, to take advantage of this process, you know, and then rank the national projects without going through another round of competitive tender. So I think this is a very good tool, and we should embrace it, you know. The money, I mean, if we were discussing about the 800 million in the first round, it's peanuts, if you ask me. And, but now we see that the European Union is actually meeting, you know, what they look forward, and they stand to what they said. So they said 3 billion, and they will do 3 billion, okay? But the national strategies have also to align to the needs of the markets, you know? Again, we need somehow to have instruments that in the long term provide security for the off-takers, for the lenders, for the owners to go into this business. Okay, of course the CapEx instruments are welcome, but from the development side, the OpEx instruments at this point, at this stage, I'd say they are more important for the FID.
May I continue?
Yep.
Very good point. I don't know, we hear Jose. So from my perspective, I mean, we have a lot of open windows in Europe for subsidies. Many of them are available, but what makes me in project development my task harder, it's the process itself to get these subsidies. I think personal opinion should be more simple. For example, without pointing on concrete case, in one of beautiful country in Europe, we really need to get received or permit all design of asset, which is a lot of effort and also time consuming. Yeah? So if we really want to push green hydrogen happen in Europe, the process of subsidies should be more simple, if I may say so. And to continue on this permit story, what I mentioned, here we also need to be faster. I'm not saying we should put all of electrolyzers by each house, no. I'm saying the process, this permit application should be more easy with less of complex things behind, yeah. And I'm not also thinking to point on US, that they have this very simple subsidies program, let's call it, yeah. But to make it simple, it should be more simple. Yeah, simple and also more straightforward, I would say. But it was great that we have the European Commission support this announcement, what you mentioned. This is all goes in the right direction, but should be more simple. Yeah, thanks.
Right, very good, very good. Okay, thanks. We have then touched upon it. There's a lot of different issues we are covering, but very good. Let's then, we have touched a little bit upon it, but of course we have now seen very high, of course, particularly last year, we had a record high electricity prices, driven of course by the Russian-Ukraine war and the lack of gas. And lack of gas, high gas prices being the marginal price setter for electricity. But also, still, the gas prices are high. And that is also still, putting a pressure on the electricity prices. So how easy is it to enter into long-term power purchasing agreement these days at kind of the levels you would like to have? Maybe you want to...
Dimitrios already started already, yeah? You already mentioned...
He touched upon it, but you can comment again, but maybe you can start on this one.
Thank you. No, it's a very good question because, well, it's not a big secret, I will say, that the green hydrogen power today, the price of it is 60-75% of final cost to our customer. So, of course, we need to fix it, yeah. And we are looking to do to fix it with a long-term PPA. And I should say that major power companies, they do offer this. So 5, 10, 15 years PPA. We do have it, but the question is, as always, a price. Yeah. So what is the price and how to fix it? My opinion, we're at the beginning of industry, I hope so, of new industry creation. So it's new for many of us here, yeah? And the way to structure the PPA is also new for us here. So the way is it going today? Yes, for long-term PPA. But then you mentioned, Christian, this important theme about material consumption, yeah, about these rare metals. Donc, this is stock degradation. It's an issue for today. I hope with time, Technip and the OEMs will fix it, and Blind Engineering as well on it. But stock degradation is an issue. So what we need to fix the base load, I will call it. So with a power producer and supplier, we need to have it fixed. This is the first part of the PPA, and then, of course, we can go for flexible one, which somehow connected to the wind and solar fluctuation power supply. But this base load is must. And here again, with expansion of renewable power, we can move it better. And also, I hope with the electrolysis itself, with technology developments, it will come. And what you mentioned, Christian, it's good to see the R&D also development, the recycling of these materials to be in progress. So I think with time we can reach this. I will not call it low-cost price, but better price for power and, of course, for final product, green hydrogen.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, and if I add to this, there is a lot of competition for cheap green electricity, okay? Because you have the renewable business coming out in most of the European countries from a subsidy cycle, and you have a lot of assets that are still on a subsidy cycle with tariffs and everything. That's one part of the competition. The other part of the competition is that you have large industries that take up PPAs, for 10, 15 years, very solid buyers, that a company, a developer of power relies on them to build their projects. And then you have us, a new business, technology risk, no off-takers or a few off-takers, and we are asking them to give us cheap electricity price for 10 or 15 years. It's a very, very, very difficult environment. Not stating other issues, technical issues like, for example, congestion on the grids and stuff like that. So again, we have to find a way to assist the renewable assets developers to develop assets specifically for green hydrogen production.
Right. Okay, so you have to pay maybe have to pay a risk premium on the power price. Okay, thanks for that. Let's then move on a little bit and look into this development that we are continuously now getting bigger and bigger projects. So you are up to the 100 megawatts, up to even 1 and even 2 gigawatts. But let's say we stay in the several hundreds megawatts. And maybe we can have some comments on, of course, yes, the benefits of the scaling, but of course also maybe some of the issues or challenges that you see when you are working on looking into these big projects. So maybe, Wouter, maybe you want to comment on this.
Yeah, sure, with pleasure. It's clear this industry is trying to run before it can walk in one point of view. On the other hand, it's what we need to do. It's also a moment to reinvent ourselves, and from an engineering contracting perspective, it's what we're doing. It's really required. We can borrow a lot of ways of working from other industries. We spoke about the power industry. We speak about others, and the way we used to do things in oil and gas, tailoring each and every asset for our customers. Because the feedstock was a tiny bit different, the viscosity of this and the conductivity of that has to change. And here we are dealing with an electron. Electron is always an electron. It will be intermittent, it could be baseload, and we can tailor our assets to that. But there is a massive opportunity for standardization and replicability. And hence, a big push from us, and I'm sure also from our peers in the industry, to look at, okay, how can we organize ourselves, not just in the designs, to almost productize the way we approach these projects. It's really critical, and for that we need to have the whole supply chain on board. It's really something that we cannot do alone. Ultimately, we want to move on from doing PowerPoints about projects and just designs. We want to start building, and to do that we need the whole supply chain on board. So that's really our perspective as we move from, let's say, pilot scale to industrial scale and beyond multi-gigawatt. That will absolutely be required.
The key. Right, Christian, maybe you will comment as well.
Yeah, and I want to pick up run before walking, and they don't see the wall which is coming, because the wall will be the supply chain. And we're not talking only about precious metals. If we talk about gigawatt of capacity, also for alkaline, nickel can become a problem. And not to mention what we have done with the PFAS ban, where we have another component. If we now trying to avoid have PFAS inside, we have another limitation which can come. So I like it a lot. If you run and you don't see the wall, there will be an accident. And that's I think the main thing. You asked before about funding. I like the funding system in Europe. I like it even more in German, I have to say, because it's a bit easier. However, we have to fund implementation of new materials, of new technologies to come down, to avoid these running against the wall in 3 to 5 years. Because recycling or bringing back materials in the loop, that's not happening tomorrow. That's happening after the ramp up. And I'm completely with you. We have to plan, we have to be careful in looking on the supply chain. And that's not only electricity.
May I ask thank you, Christian, how long it takes to understand, for example, let's say we install the installation do you see these materials in 5 years degradation? What is the life cycle to get the best end of the year?
I like your question because I like your question because I had a discussion recently. So if we want to continue like now, taking the safe way, we will run into a limitation of materials. However, I don't want to say you have to take a risk that the electrolyzer is failing after 3 years. That's also not the right way. But we have to think about how to operate it. Maybe a maintenance cycle of 7 years is the best strategy. I cannot tell you, but I think we did not go enough in the right direction at this moment. We are wasting would be the wrong word, but in principle we were wasting raw materials, supply chain, supply chain of different components by using too much, by not going into implementation of new technologies which are there. And I'm not only pointing on us who are trying to get the iridium loading down. I think everybody in the electrolyzer technologies are doing this. There will be anyway different technologies at the same time, and everybody will have the same problem.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, so let's then maybe spend a little bit time on is there ways to improve your revenue and not just the cost side. So do you see this the benefits of either having the hubs, having everything in one place, from the power, electricity to hydrogen production, and how you use the hydrogen for products or whatever. Or are there benefits of using the oxygen being released or the heat being released from the system? Is that something where you see or have some use on? I don't know. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, sure. I can comment on that. We see many customers looking at other ways to take value from the assets that we're designing. But we also see many customers that don't think maybe more broader at the opportunities of some of these molecule streams or some of these energy streams. It's very critical, but coming to the point that you made earlier by asking the question about front-end definition, it's critical that we know upfront how you want to valorize those streams. And we need to know it as early as possible because of, for instance, aspects like the permitting system that could be very much impacted by the choices we make at that point in time. So creativity is key. Of course, that dialogue between the engineering contractor and the developer is going to be important. But there are many ways to look at implementation. This is not necessarily a novelty in the industry, right? It's just a matter of finding the opportunities and engineering the solutions that are out there. So it's part of the equation. It will bring the overall cost of the product down, for sure, and ultimately secure additional revenue streams for the asset.
Right.
Maybe just a point, thank you, Wouter. For Linde as a gas company, this optimization is very much important, yeah. Being owner and operator of electrolyzer, we of course, electrolyzer itself is to be installed, I would say, in industrial site somewhere, yeah. And then additional revenue coming from oxygen, which is high purity, and also from heat, which is today gradually but coming to be. This is a perfect match, and this is, of course, to help us to reach the business case. Is the end of day, the best price to our customer for hydrogen, for other molecules in heat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If I might add to my colleagues, of course, oxygen and waste heat are location dependent. One thing that we can look at, and we are looking at, is how to increase the utilization factor of the electrolyzer. Because when you have a PPA, there is a sweet spot above which it's not practical to produce hydrogen because of the high price of electricity. And we've seen that, 50, 60%, might reach 70%. There is a huge difference when you reach 85%, 85%. And one way to do it is provide services to the grid. For example, absorbing the curtailments of the renewables. This is a great way to increase your revenue stream by increasing the utilization of your electrolyzer. It also works better as an equipment. We have to be resourceful, and we have to think both streams, energy and gas. This is the beauty of hydrogen. So you have to combine both.
Right. So how do you set this up? Well, to get this to work.
Well, first you have to have the support of the local structure, the local governments, in order to have the ability to offer this kind of services to the grid. There has to be a legislative framework, a regulatory framework that accepts the fact that electrolyzers can offer these services to the grid. And then, it's relatively easy because now all the technologies have great ramping capabilities. You can work around with turn downs. We are not there yet, but with a good control system,
Right, right. Okay, thanks for that. We have also one question here on water supply becoming an issue. If you have this large, giga projects coming, is that something you see? Is that something a challenge in Europe actually? Is it maybe only in Spain, or do any of you have views on the water supply issue?
If I may start to answer. Water is a precious resource what we have in the earth. Not only in Spain, but also in other countries, what we develop projects, we see this, I will not call it the issue or challenge, we see this to be prepared, yeah? So talking about North Europe countries, they have better luck, I will say. They also already producing power from water. So here, then they go a bit down. It's a bit different story. And countries like Germany or Netherlands, there is available water, yes, but there is first limit on quantity and on quality. Yeah, and behind there is again the price, yeah, for this, yeah. So now the way as we work today. Of course, from CapEx perspective, it's much more, not much more, but cheaper to go without the daemon water installation on site. Yeah, so we often looking, as you said, Demetrius, we're looking where the site is located. We're going again for this optimization, looking where we can OPEX this water, if I can say so. Yeah. But then there is a theme I like very much, is desalination of water. So I'm not on this specialist on this, but I think there is possible future, especially for countries what you mentioned, Spain and other, maybe Portugal as well, with some announced projects. Yeah, this is the point. But this is a bit more on next step, as I could foresee. Yeah, thanks.
But maybe one comment on this, and then we have another capex and opex factor inside. That has to be considered.
Right. Okay. So we got also some more questions coming in. Let's. I can start on the top here from the audience. So there's one question here: is how do real project pricing and performance of electrolyzers compare with state-of-the-art and targets from EU research numbers? I don't know if someone are able to answer on that one. Or yeah.
let me give an answer, which hopefully is some kind of answer. It's a tough one to really get into it, and maybe it's a bit linked what you said. We need a standardization of components. At this moment, I give one simple example. And sorry, I'm an R&D guy. So if you use the same amount of precious metals in a PEMA electrolyzer, you can either work at very high power per mass or going very much down. This depends on all your components. And coming back to what I said in the beginning, I think we are on a good way looking at the targets of the EU, of the DOE. However, we have to understand really the component interplay to get the efficiency up, because every single component cannot do the job. It's not possible. And in the end, efficiency, if we talk about performance and efficiency, it's not only beginning of life, you said it already, degradation. We have to consider what we want to achieve or what we want to remain over which time. And then operation comes into play again. So it's very hard to give an exact number, but we have to work together on all those things, components and operation.
Right, right. Okay, then we got another one. I guess we have not. It's about PPAs. Are power companies signing PPAs considering the hourly correlation, or is it something that has to be managed by the hydrogen producer?
I can easily answer this one. I mean, easy to know, but they are smart, the power companies. Yeah, they are doing them best. But yes, there are some. How you say? There is a hope that the green power will be expand, yeah, in Europe and things. So we already see the power companies trying to become, no, better say becoming a green hydrogen producer. Yeah, so we see a lot of companies coming to the market for the reason what we just briefly touched, that they know how to optimize things better than probably someone else. Yeah, but then going to the PPA, I mentioned earlier that there is this fixed and fluctuation power price. But there is also the percentage of, how to call it, actualization. Yeah. So because if you wish to sign a PPA for 15 years or more, you have a hope that power will be cheaper one day. So there are a lot of ideas and thoughts how to make it happen. But again, we are at early stage of this again.
Very good. Okay, let's see here. There are some very specific questions here. There's one question here on next to to the electrolyzer. Is it also challenges to find hydrogen separation purification skids manufacturers? Is that something you see as a challenge or issue?
Yeah, I can say a few words on that. It's what we see in the market. I mean, this is. It's a building block in the flow scheme of a typical hydrogen plant. I mean, it's obvious. It's important, obviously, from an offtake perspective, to have that purification take place. From an engineering perspective, it's not the most complicated part of the plant. If we're being very, very frank, what we do see is that when it comes to the supply chain again, is that we need to think much bigger. We need to look at merging subsystems, and this is a typical subsystem, I would say, in a green hydrogen plant that is very, very suitable for upscaling, for mutualization, basically, of functionality. So basically, having a single purification system for the entire plant, rather than what we see several players in the market offering is really those smaller, almost container size building blocks that are very nice for a demonstration plant. But again, as we try to upscale these kind of facilities, we need to think much bigger. And that will also, again, reduce CapEx and all the elements around it when it comes to footprint of the plant as well.
Right, and to follow up more on the supply chain issue, there is also, we have mentioned CRMs, nickel and PFAS. Are there any supply chain issues for specific stack or balance of plant components that you are integrating? Are there any issues related to this? I don't know if that's also something you can answer.
When it comes to precious metals in the balance of plant, well, I don't want to venture into anything that I'm personally not so familiar with, but obviously when it comes to prescribing and specifying the components and equipment that we have, when it comes to the process side of the plant or the electrical side of the plant, there is a massive focus on sustainability, on the ability to retrofit and operate and maintain the asset. So from a component level down to raw materials, that's something that we're very mindful of. And it's part of the evaluation criteria, absolutely.
Okay, very good, thank you. I think we're getting to an end, but we will give each of the panelists to maybe summarize one or two key issues they would like you to take away from this discussion. So, I don't know, are you ready to start? Who wants to start? Dimitri is ready. Okay.
Yeah. I started, I'll let them start now.
Okay, I can start. I think what I would like to take out of this session is that we really need to work together to increase the percentage of projects that actually happen. You know, there's no other way for all of us in this market, either we are developers, technology providers, engineering companies, to sustain this business. It's not entirely in our hands, but if we work together, you know, I really believe that we can do this step up, because honestly speaking, for the last 2 years, I don't want to be extremely negative, but, you know, almost nothing has happened. You know, a lot of announcements, a lot of nice things, but actually, you know, a lot of things didn't happen, actually, they were cancelled. So we really need to focus on making the projects. We might, rethink some processes. We might start a bit lower, don't start with 100 megawatt, start with 50 megawatt. I mean, this business is great because it's very modular. It's not a big 800 megawatt gas turbine that you either buy it or you not buy it. You can add 20, 30, 50. So let's rethink how we can increase this percentage. I think this is something that I would take.
All right, thanks for that. We have not discussed that much about activities elsewhere globally in other places, but that can be for next year. But okay, you want to have a comment?
Okay. No, that's, yeah. Then I arrived for this session, I was thinking about this optimization of process itself, from the moment power is produced till brings a green molecule to our customer. And then listening to you, Dimitris, and also to other colleagues, I hear this happening already. I agree with you that a lot of projects announced, not many of them happened, this is true, but maybe it's because the word more simple is missing, that we need more simple subsidies program, to make the process more quick and efficient, There is also, I mentioned about this permit application deadlines and expectation. This is something what I think is important for us as a company developing green hydrogen projects. And then the takeaway for me for today is what you started to say, Christian, about this recycling of materials, that we need to bring projects faster to industry, to start to operate them, get together this operation experience, and understand what is the best real material to take, what is the best technology which will really flow as the wind blows, you see, the stack itself, So I see a lot of good developments, but it's more joining forces, and yes, to get to execution and to see the projects happening in Europe and on the world, thanks.
Very good, thank you. More than one issue. Christian?
I take up one thing you said. There's something already happening, and that's maybe my main message to you. I talked about limitations we have to avoid, but on the other hand, that's really I want to put on the table now that we have solutions. They are ready to be implemented, and that's the point. We have to implement it. There might be on a smaller scale, on a project scale, but soon we have to bring them into the real business. And that's the main part where we're struggling in the last 2 years, I would say. And that's something I can just, not only from our perspective of precious metals, as I said, we're trying to get our best and minimize the amount to be used, but for all the other technologies as well. There are solutions on the table, they have to be used, and not after we build up a gigawatt capacity. No, they have to be implemented now.
Right. Okay, Ruta, last comment.
Last comment from my side. I mean, it's clear energy transition is very exciting, and there's a lot of promise in the market. I think I can only echo what has been said already, that, maybe we're all a little bit frustrated that those projects are not yet moving ahead, but they will. So it's not a bet on if, it's a bet on when. We get a lot of young engineers that want to work with Technip Energies. We get a lot of inspired people because they sense the purpose from that energy transition brings. To really make sure that we deliver these projects, we need to think outside of the box. We have to think differently from the way we used to work, particularly in oil and gas. And for instance, which is why I was mentioning really that intimate collaboration that we need to foster between the OEM and the EPC integrator. We strongly believe in that, and we strongly believe that will make these projects a reality, and that ultimately will bring a very exciting future for young engineers.
Very good. Thank you very much. So thanks a lot to the panel, and also thanks to Hydrogen Europe for inviting us here. I hope you all have enjoyed it and got some benefit out of the session. So thank you.
Thank you very much.